God, I hate the Phantom of the Opera. I hate it. I think the music is beautiful. I hate the story. And I am not a fan of Andrew Lloyd Webber, a lot of the stuff that he does. I also just get so, it gives me the ick because when he wrote the musical, there was this singer that he wanted to play the main actress for Christine. And he saw the relationship between the Phantom and Christine, the main characters, right? Where the Phantom of the Opera is very obsessive over her, wants to control her, wants her to sing his music, right? He felt that way toward this actress as well, kind of. So this whole thing is a self-insert. If you don't know that and you go see Phantom, you're like, oh, cool. Dude's a little weird, though. If you know that and then you watch it, you're like, ooh. Ooh. It's just kind of, ooh. Yeah, it was Sarah Brightman. Didn't they get married? They did for a time, and it didn't quite work out. And it wasn't until like a bit later in life, but it was just, I don't know. Yeah, for a time. Yeah. It was not a good idea. I don't know why she ever went for him. I don't know. She's beautiful and talented and wonderful, and she could do better. I don't know, man. I don't know. I get so, ooh, it gives me the ick. But I think, oh yeah, and someone said, and then he did the sequel. Here's the thing, the sequel, Love Never Dies, I really like the music from it, actually. I think it's wonderful. But Jesus Christ, it gets weirder. And it's not canon, by the way. The first Phantom of the Opera is based off of the book, and it's canon. And he makes a sequel called Love Never Dies, and it's like a fanfic. It's not canon, and they say that. They're like, this is just an imagination of this playwright. And the plot, yeah, is terrible. So, in the Phantom of the Opera, sorry for the spoilers, but it's been out long enough. In Phantom of the Opera, the Phantom's obsessive over Christine whenever he, like, kidnaps her. And then this guy that she's supposed to be marrying and with, Raoul, he goes and gets her. And the Phantom, like, emotionally lets her go. He sings a big tragic song and he lets her go. He's crying, whatever, because he's like, I'm disgusting and hideous and a terrible person and you shouldn't be with me. Love you, though, you know? And she's like, actually, as we get toward the end, I think you're all right. And then she escapes and she's like, oh, thank God I'm gone. That guy was crazy, you know? And they leave, her and Raoul. And it's Raoul, it's kind of assumed that they're, you know, together. And you're like, oh, thank God. Thank God she's safe from that crazy, wacky guy. Okay, that's the ending, right? Love Never Dies, the sequel. It's many years later. They are no longer in Europe. Now they've gone to Coney Island, New York, which back in the day was a big like circus area, and it had like the circus freaks, you know, that time period. So they're in Coney Island. They take a boat over. Who's running the circus and all the performers? Oh, it's the Phantom of the Opera. He escaped over there like right after all the shit with Christine because he was getting persecuted. She outed him and was like, yo, there's this crazy guy. The Phantom of the Opera is actually just like a real guy and he's hideous. Get him, you know? And he was like, oh, shit. So this is not canon, by the way. This is just written for the sequel. He like runs and goes to Coney Island, starts like running all that. So she, years later, is married to Raoul. They have a son and she takes a boat and she's in Coney Island and they're performers and things, whatever. And some weird stuff starts happening, and suddenly the Phantom appears in front of her. He shows up, and she's like, oh, it's been years, you know? And instead of her being like, oh my God, ew, and running, she's talking to him, and he's like, don't you remember what we had? Because here's the thing. Now, in the main Phantom, when he kidnaps her, there are like a few scenes where they kiss, right? But like nothing else happens, kind of. In this, it's implied that they had a beautiful night together. And they sing all about it for way too long. They sing about it for so fucking long in this one song. And I'm like, ooh. So, yeah, it's a fanfic, guys. It's a fanfic. It's not canon, but he made a whole musical about it, okay? So, he like basically kidnaps her again. And Raoul's trying to like find her. He's like, what's going on? He learns that the Phantom is there. And he's like, oh, fuck, my wife, no, you know? And the Phantom kidnaps the son. He doesn't like, the kid doesn't realize he's being kidnapped. The Phantom is just like, would you like to see like all my stuff I have in my little lab? I'm like working on these circus freaks and I've got these like machines and things. And the kid's like, oh, cool. And the Phantom and the kid are just kind of like bonding, sort of. It's like not full kidnapping yet. He's just like, oh, look at my stuff. And the Phantom's like, he's interested in these things, just like me. The kid looks at these creepy things I'm making with wonder and he's not running away. Just like me. Okay? So it's getting weird. And they're singing this duet together. and he's just creepily looking at the kid like, we're so alike. And then he walks up to the kid and he's like, surely this kid would not be scared of me. And you know, the Phantom wears like this half mask because half of his face is like deformed and gross. He pulls off the mask to show the kid because he's like, yeah, you're not afraid of this stuff. And the kid screams and runs away. At the very end of the song, he's like, surely you'll accept me. And the kid's like, ah. It's funny as hell. It's so funny. And you're supposed to feel sad during this moment. You're supposed to be like, no, the Phantom. But it's so fucking funny. Kid just goes, ah, and runs. And then he's talking to Christine later again. And it is revealed that that's his son. That they had that one night. And they sing about it again. And he's like, oh, a child. It's so bad. I hate this musical, man. But the music is beautiful. I hate it so much. Is the kid ugly? No, normal kid. The thing with the Phantom was, I believe the story is that he was deformed from injury, or like it was a defect or something that was just occurring for him, and it wasn't like a thing that he passed to his kid. I guess. I don't know. They don't really go into it that much. And they keep changing it. Like certain versions of the play and things, they'll be like, oh, it was because he had this accident. Acid was poured on him, right? Or something. And then other times they're like, he was always this way. So, you know. Thought it was fire? Yeah, a lot of the time they'll say it was fire. Like a lot of the time, but they keep changing it, so I don't really know. Like, it just depends on the person's interpretation. Yes, face caught in the organ, right? But I don't know. And then there's even more beyond that, but those are the icky parts. So as much as I love the music in some of the Phantom, and especially I like the music in Love Never Dies better a lot of the time, man, I just hate those musicals. I just hate them. Jesus Christ. You're just watching these awful fanfics and then knowing that the guy that wrote it and turned it into a musical and decided all of the specific lines that were going to be delivered was in love with the singer that he wanted to sing it. And it's like a direct allegory. I hate it. I hate it. And then he later writes a sequel where actually they did fuck. And I'm like, stop. Anyway, if you can see it, do see Love Never Dies, though, because story aside, my God, the music is good and the actors are incredible. It's one of those things that takes like incredible talent to sing well. And I would recommend, there's a movie version that's not a full movie. It's actually just a really good filming of a stage play. And it was, they filmed the Australian cast, which has this guy, Ben Lewis, that played probably my favorite Phantom ever. But they had Ben Lewis and Anna O'Byrne, and they did really well in the Australian cast. And somewhere there's like a movie version of it where they filmed the stage play, kind of the way they used to film a lot of old musicals for TV. They did it like that. So yeah, if you ever want to watch it, watch that version. I think they sang it so beautifully. They were great.